You don't necessarily need to stretch more, you need to squeeze more. And there's this like notion that when someone is working on their mobility for their hips, their shoulders, their spine, their ankle, whatever, that they should do a lot of stretching. Their head's in the right space, your head's in the right space, but what can we do to do more than stretching? Because there's more to mobility than just how much range of motion you have. We want to have active, usable active range of motion, not useless flexibility. Okay. Does that make sense, right? Yeah. So we call it usable mobility, not useless flexibility. So what we're going to do is like basic stretches in the 90-90, a basic hamstring stretch, but you're going to add an isometric contraction in it and do like tensing your muscles as you're stretching them basically. So the 90-90 like this, you can train the front leg in external rotation, right? Or the back leg in internal rotation. We're going to start with your back leg. So what I'm going to ask you to do is bring this arm around to like right here, but I want you to face this way. Now that you're facing this way, do you feel any stretch in your hip? Yeah. If you were to twist your pelvis to me a little bit further. Hi, Kimberly. Do you feel a deeper stretch? Yeah. So what I want you thinking is that your femur's completely still, right? And you're twisting the pelvis around the thigh bone. And I want you almost thinking about sitting your butt down as you do that. Do you feel a deeper stretch when you do that? And now if I told you to extend your spine by sticking your chest up more, and then with the spine extended, rotate the pelvis a little bit further, you should be able to find a little bit of a deeper stretch. Yeah. Now, pretty uncomfortable, right? It's like almost like a bony stretch, yeah, right?
The hip, that's bad too.
Okay, so internal rotation's the deepest portion of your hip. People don't usually give this as much attention as they should, right? You see them training external rotation, you see people stretching hamstrings, stretching hip flexors, but IR of the hip doesn't get the same love. So what I want you to do now is instead of just stretching, you're gonna contract tissue in a stretched position, okay, an isometric contraction. So what I want you to do is push your ankle down into the floor. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're initiating external rotation out of this internally rotated position. So you're like this, and ultimately you're trying to rotate your leg, but you can't because the ground is like what's blocking you. When you push the ankle down, do you feel the sensation in your hip transition from a stretch to like a clenching sensation? That is what you're doing. So part of your warm-up should be not just to stretch, but to contract, and you'll be able to get a much more potent stimulus when you do your weight training. Yeah. That's the goal, right? Like the goal of this is to make sure your weight training is better, more productive. Yeah, sure. Being able to contract is a really big part of that. So what I want you to do is ramp up the contraction. So if I said squeeze harder, we have a concept called MVC, or maximum voluntary contraction. It's kind of like a subjective measure. You ever hear someone say RIR, reps in reserve? How many reps in reserve do you have? What's your MVC? Are you squeezing at a 60% effort, 70% effort?
I would say like 40.
Okay, so give me like 50 now. And now, can you ramp it up deliberately to 60, 70, 80%? And the harder you push, the more you think about swiveling your thigh, right? Really think about initiating rotation through the ankle. And if the floor was not here, you would be kind of corkscrewing from this, right? You kind of see what we're doing there. Yeah. Now, if I asked you to ramp it up harder, and you squeeze harder. As we sit here, you should kind of feel like your hip is like almost marinating with tension. That's what we call it, marinating, right? It's starting to like almost soak up. It's getting louder. I'm gonna put you on this timer. Let's go for another 15 seconds, but ramp it up even harder. Yes, yes. And so now if someone were to walk past and try to pick your foot up, they can't because there's downward pressure. You're initiating from here, and you feel the clenching going on in the hip, right? Let's go for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Now don't move a thing. What I want you to try doing now is lift the foot up. Just attempt to. Do you feel your hip clenching right there when you try? Yeah. Just try that right there. Do you see how your foot's not actually coming up, but you feel the hip tensing? Can you make it tense more? Right there. So don't focus so much on this coming up. That is the goal, right? Like if it came up, fine. But the real goal is for you to feel your hip contracting, the effort of coming up. Do you see how you're putting weight off of your ankle now and more in your knee, right? So think knee down, ankle up. If you can squeeze that harder, squeeze that harder. Are you able to do that?
So,
just think about trying to pick up. That's it, right there. Yep. Now squeeze that tissue harder on the side of your hip. You see how if I said pick up, pick up, pick up, you feel your outer hip a little bit more?
Yeah.
Now hold that. See if you can give me another 10, 9, 8, yeah, good. 7, you see you're starting to shake a little bit. 6, keep going. 5, pick it up off my hand more. Take weight off my hand. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax it.
Okay.
It should feel pretty good. So that was internal rotation, right? You're in this position, and all you tried to do was rotate, right? But you can't because the floor is blocking you. What I want you to do now is train external rotation of that hip.
Okay.
So what you're gonna do is get in line with your knee. You're gonna put your left hand here and your right hand there. So you can do this a million different ways, right? I'm like giving you one little tool in your tool belt within the 90-90, right? The 90-90 is a base position, but you can do a million different things within this.
Right.
Now you're gonna do external rotation of this hip. So what I want you thinking is, you're like in this position, tilt the pelvis, sit up tall. You're using your hands as kickstands, and I want you to kind of lean forward with your chest tall until you feel your outer hip stretching over here. Pause. Do you feel your outer hip more than the inner thigh or the groin?
Not really, I don't feel anything.
You don't feel anything right now. Okay, do you feel it if I told you to stick your butt up a little bit more? Does that initiate anymore? If I said tilt your pelvis, anteriorly tilt your pelvis. It's okay if you don't.
No.
Like this stretch isn't even that hard for you, is it?
No.
Okay.
Pigeon poses are fine.
Are good for you. So you're good at external rotation, but you were internal rotation was harder.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's okay. So that goes to show you that this wouldn't really be productive for you and I to stretch. Do you see what I mean? Like you're not really getting much out of it. So like, is that a good use of your time?
No.
That's one thing too, is that there's a million tools in your tool belt, but if it's not a good use of your time, why are we spending time doing that?
Right.
So what you're gonna do is go to the end of your range of motion. So I want you to lean over a little bit further. And then from there, what we're gonna do is immediately go into an isometric. So for your isometric here, not quite like that, because I don't want your spine rounded, right? So use your hands to kickstand, even sit up taller than that. Yeah, even more than that. Let's put your hands like right here, and then sit up a bit more than that. Tilt your pelvis, other way, at the butt. Nope, opposite, that, more of that. That's harder for you than I think you realize, is anteriorly tilting. We'll talk about that separately.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is start pushing your ankle down here. So the same way that you did on internal rotation. Do you see how you're pushing the ankle down here? And what you're trying to do is internally rotate out of this externally rotated position. And now, what do you feel as you do that?
Feel the outer hip.
You feel the outer hip now, right? You feel how we're clenching this corner of your hip, right? So now you're doing a contraction in external rotation. That's all it is. You're doing an isometric, right? If someone walked past us, it doesn't look like you're doing anything, right? You're just stretching. That's the point though, is you're tissue training, not movement training. And my job for you is to show you that stretching doesn't engage the tissue at the level that you want it to. Stretching's a thing, you should totally be doing it, but you see how this is very distinctly different, right? So what I want you to do is push harder. We talked about your MVC. So can you contract, say, instead of 50%, 60%, 70%? Let's keep you at like the 70, 75 range. And just ramp that up. You still feel that outer hip. You should, again, kind of feel it like it's marinating with tension, right? Exactly. Keep going. I want you to ramp it up to 100% in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. Push. Yes. Think about really rotating through the thigh. You're internally rotating out of this externally rotated position, but you can't because, again, the floor is blocking us. You feel that ramp up. You got 10 seconds. Empty your gas tank. Give me everything you got. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. There you go. Don't lose me. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Does that kind of make sense? So what I want you to try doing now is you are going to stay in this position, and instead of pushing down, try to push up, or pull up rather. Now when you pull up, what do you feel?
I feel more...
Your inner. Okay, that's exactly what I want. So remember earlier in internal rotation, I had you push down and then try to lift up. You just did the same thing where you push down and then lift up. You just did a pail and a rail. Pail being you squeeze the stretched tissue, and then the rail is when you lift it up and now you're squeezing the shortened tissue, right? Just like every other muscle, you stretch muscles, squeeze muscles. You contracted stretched muscle, and now you're contracting a squeeze muscle. So if you were doing this on your own, I would tell you to say, stretch for a little bit. If the stretch is unproductive because you just told me you're not that tight, you're gonna push down. You're gonna hold that for like a minute, and then you're gonna try to lift up and hold that for a minute as well. Okay, so as you lift up, you feel the inner thigh beginning to clench. Try to lift up again, and let's hold that, but keep the knee down. Knee stays down, ankle up, yes. And you feel tension in your hip, even though your foot's not really moving. Right, it's a little bit counterintuitive because in your brain you're like, Sam, I'm wasting my time because the foot didn't come up. That's not the goal. I'm looking for you to feel that isometric, right? You're tensing but not moving. So just because you're not moving doesn't mean it's not productive, right? Exactly. Hold that for another 10, 9, good. Keep trying to lift up. If you can squeeze that harder, squeeze that harder. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And relax it. So hamstring stretching is really common. Every single time I've ever seen someone stretch hamstrings, they really suck at contracting them. Same principle. You're not supposed to stretch, you're supposed to squeeze. So you're already flexible, we know you are. If you couldn't do this back hip like this, instead of doing this position, I would tell you to do this. For either someone watching the video, if my client or you was too tight to do it in this way, they can have themselves in a butterfly like this, okay? What I want you to do is you're gonna do an eccentric here to contract the back side of your leg when you go to a stretch. Push the ankle down. So if I'm sitting here like prying your foot up, do you feel your hamstring and maybe your glute contracting? Okay, try to feel the hamstring and the glute where it ties in together. We call it the glute ham tie-in. The upper hamstring, the lower butt. You're able to feel any kind of contraction there. So now, without losing that contraction, I want you to begin leaning forward, but with your chest tall like you're doing in RDL.
Am I supposed to feel it in the knee here though?
No, you're feeling your back knee. Okay, so now alter that. That's good. Are you better now or no?
Yeah, now I am.
You sure?
A little.
Do you need to reset?
Probably.
Okay, how about you go to this position then? That's completely okay. And now, yes, use the blocks there, totally. That's fine with me. You could see where if you don't have this internal rotation, tension goes to your knee. And that goes to show you you were right. That you're better at ER than IR. And your body just lets you know that internal rotation kind of stinks. And you have a hard time sitting in this position internally rotated. This is your way to regress it and modify it for you. If you had a client, you'd probably have to do that because clients don't move as well as we do normally, right? So, same principle, let me have you start pushing down. Are you able to find the glute and the hamstring contracting? Anything on the back of your leg? Now, with yourself sitting up tall, keep driving down and lean forward towards me. Yes, and use the blocks to prop yourself up. Yes, keep leaning forward. Yep, keep pushing. Do you see how you're contracting the back of your leg as you go to the stretch? Keep going. Keep leaning forward. Keep leaning forward. Keep leaning forward. Keep leaning forward. And now relax, sit back up. So you're gonna be doing this for repetitions. Eccentrics for hip flexion. Does that kind of make sense? Let's go again. So you're pushing down, you're initiating, right? So basically, all you're trying to do is you're here and you're trying to drive back. But you can't because the floor is blocking you. This is the same thing that you did when you pushed here, right? You tried to rotate, but you can't because the floor blocks you. When I had you like this, you push down and you're trying to rotate, but you can't because the floor is blocking you. The exact same thing, another rep. So you're driving down, push down harder on my hand, you're able to find the glute and the hamstring there. Now start leaning over and keep sitting up tall as you lean over, but push down hard. Think about trying to break my hand here. Definitely through the heel. Yep, keep going. Good, keep going. Chest tall, chest tall, chest tall, chest tall, chest tall. Keep going. Push, 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 push. Further, 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 and then reset. You got 3 more here. Again, whenever you're ready, break my hands. You found the contraction. Now that you found the contraction, begin leaning over and keep tensing the back side of your leg as you come to the stretch position. So we'll often see people stretching hip flexion like this, where they're trying to lengthen this back hip. You are now contracting this back hip as opposed to just stretching. Beautiful, until you feel the end of that stretch, which is probably somewhere around there. And then you're gonna reset again. Nice, let's do 2 more, and then we'll give you an opportunity to do the other leg. Okay? Push down. Yeah, and use that to prop yourself up, because I want to see that spine nice and tall as you do that. Yeah. Push down. Yup. 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 Very good. Nice. You're able to push harder now, right? You see how you're feeling a little bit more hip there? I can tell you're applying a lot more force. That's what I want, is a lot of force being produced. Beautiful. And then come back up, reset. Good. Push down again, 1 last rep. Nice, nice, nice. You got more in you, lean over, push, 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 and relax. So you see how a basic stretch, we transitioned into an isometric.
Yeah.
That's where you mentioned when we started that yoga does a lot of stretching, but they don't do any contractions. And this is also where people say like, I'm stretching, but my hip still bugs me.
Yeah.
It's because you're missing other qualities of movement. You have the range of motion, which is the base layer, right? Like you can't do anything without range of motion.
Right.
So you start with range of motion, and then we work on how hard you can squeeze. But if you were tight, we would just stretch. But you're not anymore. So that's where you fall in this program. Now, if you had a client, what would we do? You would probably stretch first, and then do this afterwards. So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch, basically.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you can see though, where like if you can't contract those muscles, even though you have the range of motion there, you don't own it, right? That's my goal, is for you to create ownership of that range. And routinely you were like, I feel no stretch here. Yeah, you have a ton of external rotation. But why do you still have issues with your hip? And how do we get more out of your training? By doing contractions. So we had you pushing down through the ankle here. We had you pushing down through the ankle here. We had you pushing down through the ankle here. And that's all like typically done stretches that people do, but this is way more of like I hate the word dynamic warm up, but it's like a dynamic warm up basically, right? And the idea is that the harder you can squeeze your hip, the more you're gonna get out of your squat, your deadlift, your lunges, the outer thigh machine, glute bridges. If you can't squeeze your hip here, what makes you think you'll be able to squeeze your hip over there when you're doing weight training? Does that make sense? And again, we started the video off with saying you don't need to stretch, you need to squeeze. There'll be a lot of people in yoga being like, my hip feels so tight, even though I have all this range of motion. It's because they're missing big components of movement, qualities of movement. And this is just one series of exercises that I kind of gave you to work on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Okay, that was awesome. Thank you so much for watching the Bodybuilding Not Body Breaking YouTube channel. If you found it helpful, drop a comment, like, subscribe, share it with a friend or family. That stuff really helps us in expanding our reach to popularizing this training approach, because we know there just isn't a better way to do things. If you have interest in diving deeper into the stuff you just watched, feel free to join our school community. On our school community, we have a lot of additional content. We have an exercise library that has over 200 different movement options. We have programs. We have additional videos that are concepts, lectures, and rants to give you guys a deeper understanding as to how and why we do things. We also have a discussion board where you can get direct access to coaching feedback from me personally. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for additional updates for when we post new content. Thank you again for watching, and we hope it was of use to you.